Davide Ancelotti, Real Madrid assistant manager, son of one of the most decorated managers in world football history, Carlo Ancelotti, and at the time of writing, bookies' favourite to be the new manager of Rangers Football Club. Heck, by the time this video goes up, he might have already been announced.
Oh man, you're just ruining it. Look at my lips, you're ruining it.
With Davide being the latest in a long line of lesser known relatives of famous names in the world of football, this got me thinking, what other football relatives have made the trip to Scotland to represent their family name? I've put together a list of 10, some more shocking than others, with a few honourable mentions. Stick around for the story behind number 10, you are not going to want to miss it. Starting off with the most recent football relative to ply their trade in Scotland, we have James Carragher, son of Liverpool legend Jamie Carragher. Very original name choice for your son, Jamie. Wonder how long it took you to come up with that one. James had a brief spell on loan at Inverness from current club Wigan in 2024, featuring 20 times. His dad even managed to make the trip up north to watch him once or twice. James's time at Inverness may not have been the greatest though, as the club got relegated to League One through the playoffs, but he's kicked on since, featuring 39 times for Wigan last season. Like his dad, James also plays centre back, and he's already managed to score half as many career goals in under a tenth of the appearances. He's even bagged himself a couple of international caps. For Malta? What the fuck? Our next footballer relative to have a taste of Scottish football is Owen Djorkaeff, son of 1998 World Cup winner Willie Aubameyang. I've definitely butchered that name. Owen spent the 2019-20 season on loan at St Mirren, featuring a measly 6 times, 4 of which were in the League Cup group stages at the start of the season. To be fair to Owen, he did manage to score in one of his 6 appearances, netting a late winner against Edinburgh City from the penalty spot. But that clearly wasn't good enough for then manager Jim Goodwin, as he played 21 whole minutes of Scottish Premiership action throughout the rest of the season. Similar to our previous relative, World Cup winner Yuri made the trip to Paisley to see his son's St Mirren side take on Aberdeen in August of 2019. Sadly for him, his son didn't get on. The third football relative to test himself in Scotland is Willie Aubameyang, half-brother of top-class striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Willie spent the second half of the 2010-11 season at Kilmarnock, joining from AC Milan, which sounds absolutely mental saying out loud. Not only did Willie play for AC Milan prior to joining Killie, he also played for the Gabon national team, alongside half-brother Pierre and other brother Catalina.
It's the f***ing Catalina wine mixer. It's the f***ing Catalina wine mixer.
Willie was one of those players that wore bonkers shirt numbers, rocking the number 87 while at Kilmarnock, likely representing his birth year. He had an extremely short-lived career following his spell in Scotland, retiring in 2016 at the age of 28. He left his final club right in the middle of a relegation battle, refusing to return from a family break in Italy over Christmas. There's a smashing family photo of the Aubameyangs taken during 2020 while Pierre was at Arsenal. The whole family are all kitted out in their Arsenal ships in support of the striker, apart from our Willie, sporting his 2010-11 Kilmarnock kit. What a boy. This footballing relative is a bit different because both family members played in Scotland and both had wildly different experiences. Ex-Liverpool striker David Ngog spent 6 months on loan at Ross County battling relegation and failing. Meanwhile, cousin Jean-Alain Boumsong also spent 6 months in Scotland, but he ended up with a league winners medal with Rangers. Jean-Alain was initially signed on a bumper 5-year contract by Alex McLeish. It didn't take long for Boumsong to impress though. In January he left for the English Premier League for a massive £8 million to Newcastle. He went on to make a pretty decent career for himself, playing for Juventus and Lyon before ending up in Greece at Panathinaikos. He actually scored the opening goal for the Greek side against Motherwell in their Champions League qualifying tie back in 2012. Yes, you heard that right. Motherwell were in the Champions League qualifiers. Look out for a video on that soon. Ngog's spell in Scotland, on the other hand, was the beginning of the end of his career, as the journeyman striker retired 2 years later. He came out of retirement in 2022 though, to spend a season in Greece with Panionios. These lot must love smashing plates. The next footballing relative to spend time in Scotland is Timothy Weah, son of former Ballon d'Or winner and Liberian president George Weah. That is some sentence. Like a lot of players on this list, Timothy spent 6 months in Scotland, in his case with Celtic, and he left with a league winners medal. He could have had a Scottish Cup winners medal too, but he decided instead to join up with the US national team for the Under-20s World Cup, even though he was already a part of the men's squad at that time. They got eliminated in the quarterfinals by Ecuador. Serves him right. Tim went on to sign for Lille that summer and won the French League title in 2021, before joining Juventus, where he still plays. Although he won the Coppa Italia in 2024, Juventus is the only club where Weah hasn't won a league medal yet. Doesn't look like that'll be changing anytime soon. The next football relative to dip their toe in Scottish waters is Anton Ferdinand, brother of Man United legend Rio Ferdinand. Anton may be a shadow of the player his brother was, but he still made a decent career for himself, playing over 200 games in the English Premier League. After a couple of seasons with Southend in League One, he joined St Mirren in 2018. The veteran defender was the oldest of a 28-man squad, which included 2 other football relatives in Paul and Stephen McGinn, brothers of the man who, by his own admission, would be at Yeovil Town if it weren't for his huge arse, John McGinn. Anton made 19 appearances for the Saints, including a 37-minute cameo in the relegation playoff final against Dundee United, which would ultimately be the last game of his career, as he retired that summer. He switched to football pitch for the ice rink as he participated in the 17th series of Dancing on Ice, finishing a respectable 3rd place. This football relative is a bit of a weird one, as although Nigel claims to be the nephew of Premier League legend Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink, his supposed uncle has never even heard of him. I'll give Nigel the benefit of the doubt here, as Jimmy is the youngest of 6 siblings, so there's every chance he's lost contact with 1 or 2 along the way. Also, Hasselbaink isn't exactly a popular surname, even in Suriname where the pair were born, so the likelihood of another footballer having that name and not being related to Jimmy is pretty low. Nigel may not have hit the heights of the English Premier League like his uncle, but he made quite a name for himself in Scotland, sometimes for the wrong reasons, like missing this absolute sitter against Kilmarnock in 2012. Funnily enough, that wasn't the only open goal he missed while playing for St Johnstone, as he somehow did it again against Inverness in 2014. Although Perth was where he played the most during his time in Scotland, Nigel also had spells with St Mirren, like half the folk on this list, and Hamilton, netting 26 times from 161 games. Not the greatest goal ratio for a striker. His international record, however, is far superior, scoring 8 times in 9 appearances for Suriname. You do the math on that, that's a goal a game. He also managed to do something his uncle couldn't: score an international hat-trick. Not just that, he done it on 2 separate occasions. The next football relative in our list is potentially the most forgettable, mainly because he played 1 single game in Scotland. Rodney Sneijder is the younger brother of midfield magician Wesley Sneijder, personally one of my favourite ever footballers. He was 100% robbed of the Ballon d'Or in 2010 by the way. How he never even made the top 3 is absolute insanity. Rodney on the other hand wasn't quite as talented as his brother. Also a product of the Ajax youth team, he didn't manage to break through to the first team, making more of a name for himself in the 2nd tier of Dutch football. After a few seasons in the Netherlands, Rodney made his first trip overseas, signing for Dundee United on the 25th of July 2015. Not only did he make 1 single appearance for the Tangerines, he lasted 1 whole month at the club. Dundee United let Rodney go on the 25th of August 2015 due to concerns over his health, and after a year out of football, he returned to his homeland where he's played ever since. At the age of 34 years old, Rodney is currently playing for VV de Mirren in the 6th tier of Dutch football. This football relative is the 2nd of our nephews on the list, but thankfully this isn't as confusing as the former. While there was some doubt as to whether Nigel was actually the nephew of Jimmy Floyd, there's little doubt here, as Colin Seedorf specifically mentioned speaking to Uncle Clarence prior to joining Inverness back in 2017. The Dutch defender only managed 19 games in the Highlands, and while they didn't get the promotion he was hoping for, there was something to celebrate, as they won the Scottish Challenge Cup against Dumbarton, with Seedorf playing the full game at right back. After his release at the end of the season, Colin went back to the Netherlands where he's currently still playing. Similar to Rodney Sneijder, Scotland's the only place outside of his homeland that he's played football. The Dutch must love their deep fried Mars bars. Before we get to number 10, I'll share some honourable mentions that aren't quite exciting enough to warrant their own spot in the video, but still deserve a word. Number 1, Jake Sinclair, brother of Scott Sinclair. Number 2, Thomas Robert, son of Lauren Robert. Number 3, Paul Dalglish, son of Kenny Dalglish. Number 4, Lars Den Donker, brother of Leander Den Donker. Number 5, Niall Keown, son of Martin Keown. Last but not least, we have the final football relative to play in Scotland, and this one is absolutely mental. Mathias Pogba, brother of the midfield maestro who was previously banned from football for doping, Paul Pogba, hasn't got the cleanest record himself, and that's putting it lightly. The journeyman striker spent a season at Partick Thistle back in 2015, scoring 3 goals during his 9-month spell, which is nothing compared to the 3-year prison sentence he got in 2024 after an attempted kidnap and extortion of €13 million from his own brother. Yep, you heard that right. Paul Pogba claimed that an organised gang made up of old childhood friends held him at gunpoint in an alleyway in an attempt to get money off him. His brother Mathias wasn't directly involved in this incident, but was later accused of trying to desperately persuade Paul to hand the group the money. His lesser part led to him having 2 of the 3-year sentence suspended, with the other year being served under house arrest. The rest of the group didn't get let off so lightly. After being away from football for a few years while all this madness was going on, Mathias Pogba recently started playing again, signing for St Nicholas in the Belgian 4th tier. Holy f***, is that the best he could do? That's it for this video. Thanks to anyone that made it this far. If you enjoyed, feel free to drop a like and leave a comment, maybe even subscribe. Click here to continue watching more of my content. Thank you.